Assalamu alaikum. Praise be to Allah, the guardian of all of us, cherisher, the sustainer of all the worlds. Peace and blessings. Peace and blessings upon his servant and his messenger Mohammed, to whom the Quran was revealed, and upon his descendants and the righteous all. Ameen. Dear beloved Muslims, it is indeed a good feeling, a good thing to be here in this area again, this time in East Orange. I believe this is the first time of my being in East Orange, but I've been in this area many times, and every time I come here, I expect to have nothing but good results. You know, we were selling the book As the Light Shineth from the East. And then along came another book, and we were selling that book also. And I asked the manager, who was managing the distribution for us, I asked him to find out where the greatest support was coming from. And he said the greatest support is coming out of the Newark area. And I found ever since that because I began to be curious then, I said, well, we're going to test it. We're going to find out where is the support coming from. And believe me, we have very strong support in the Newark area. Yes, very strong support. So whenever we come to New York, we expect a good crowd. Whenever we come to Newark, we expect a good crowd, because we know we're in a very good area where there's strong support. And inshallah, that kind of support is going to come in the Midwest one of these days. But right now, it's still a little too windy, I think. Do I need this mic? Do I have to speak with this mic? Can I put it here, right? All right. Okay. First, let me express my appreciation for the leadership, sincere work of the national chairman of the Samuel Bilal. Praise be to Allah. And to all of his strong and sincere supporters who are backing him in the AMCOP effort. To Brother Lukman and to all of you, we want to express our appreciation. Also to Imam Burhani, Ahmed Burhani, if he's here of East Orange, we would like to give him our greetings of Assalamu alaikum. I believe that we are united in the desire for progress. Maybe we are divided as a people, but I think as a people, we are still forced to desire progress in America. Because still, as a people, we are not on our feet. We are not even enjoying the benefits of this democracy to an appreciable extent. We're still too far behind when it comes to real solid progress in America. We have a semblance, we have a resemblance of progress in the fine clothes we wear, in the big cars we drive, in the foreign models we drive, in the TV sets at home, in the furniture, etc., etc. We have a resemblance or semblance of progress, but the actual state of our lives is something very different. Most of us are struggling day to day just to manage the bare necessities of life. Most of us worry month from month How are we going to meet these expenses? Most of us live in a constant state of insecurity. Whereas with other ethnic groups, that's not the case. The newcomers, the Asians, the Cubans, the Africans, just here in the last 2 years or so, they have made progress that sicken us to our hearts. When we think about how long we have been here and how much we have spent to try to establish ourselves here in this country. So that tells us that either something is terribly wrong for us in America or something is terribly wrong within us in America. So, dear beloved people, either way, we have work still to do. We are not where we wanted to go. We have work still to do. And the wealthy people of this land, the wealth holders, those who own the resources and the machinery, those people want outsiders to think that this is the land of plenty and there's nobody suffering here in America. And anytime we accept to give up the group effort and go it as individuals, we're playing right into their hands. In the interest of progress, for the Muslim, progress begins in the soul. When we have honorable intentions, that is the beginning of progress for the Muslim. Honorable intentions. Now, I don't want to have you guessing at what I'm trying to establish here. What I'm trying to establish is this, that the problem that we have is still internal more than external. The problem is internal more than external. We know that there must be conditions for progress. If you don't have the external conditions for progress, most likely you realize no progress, as there must be an accommodation, an opportunity for any expression. The human being cannot even express his human identity until there's an opportunity for that expression. The proof of this is in the case that is given by the students of primitive societies. They report a young boy being found in the jungles, running around like an animal and making sounds like an animal. That young boy was not an animal, he was a human being. But he had not the opportunity for human expression. He was put in an animal environment before he learned to speak and talk and walk and behave like a human being. Because of that, he could not express his human identity. So we know that there must be an opportunity for expression. Now, when there is opportunity for expression and still no appreciable expression is coming, then that tells us that something is wrong with that particular person and not the external situation. So then we have to look at the person. And believe me, our problem is not one that we should feel guilty about. We shouldn't feel guilty. Should that child who was left in the jungle feel guilty once it began to come face to face with its human identity? Should it feel guilty? Should it say, oh, I'm guilty for my past situation? No, that child was not responsible Whoever let the child go into the jungle and did not take him back home, they are responsible. Now, I don't want this to sound like an anti-white man, or anti-race message. But some things just have to be remembered and not forgotten. And the fact of our folks being brought here by force. See, some of us act like we had a conference. Like the blacks had a conference, and they sat down and decided to come to America, the land of plenty. It didn't happen that way. The white slave masters had a conference, and they decided to take us by force and bring us here and put us in that situation, in this situation. And ever since they have had us here, they've had a big problem. And their problem has been how to avoid problems, how to avoid trouble from these people. Freedom was destined to come. They had to eventually give us freedom, because freedom is the urgency of nature itself. It wasn't just happening here. In fact, it was late happening here. England freed the slaves before America did. So it was actually late happening here. But it had to happen here because it's an urgency in nature that the natural course be realized. So we had to come to our natural course, and that's the human course, the human being. We had to come to that and be free. And the urge won't allow us to accept anything less than that freedom for the human spirit. That had to come. But dear beloved people, now we are in America, and we are not responsible for the content of our lives. That content of our lives that's holding us back, we are not responsible for it. Because we were cut off from the natural lifeline of the African American people by the slave masters. And what we've been doing since being cut off is trying to live in the white man's world. So if we have made a bad job of this, it's not our fault. And the answer is still what the nationalists used to say: stop trying to live in the white man's world and conceive the world for yourself. Doesn't mean you have to give up on life in America. No, give up on the walking blindly in America. Give up on depending on this country and its culture to take us by the hand and lead us from home to work, back home, and from home to the recreational center, and back home. Yeah, just give up on that dependency. Give up on that dependency and start to envision for yourself what should be operating as a powerful influences, dominating influences in your life. And then make the choice, whether it's to be a Muslim, or a reborn Christian, or atheist, whatever. Just let the day come when we can make free choices. Then we and the white man will see a new people. A new people. The Muslim is obligated to make progress in the world. The Muslim cannot accept just to make progress on his soul. That's the first step. First step is to set your soul in order. But after you do that, the next step is set your environment in order. Once the soul takes the right position, then the soul will disagree with an environment that is not compatible. The soul will say, this environment does not complement me. I don't like it. If you feel no sense of being, no sense of worth in your soul, then the people won't see nothing manifest outwardly. But when you have a sense of self-esteem, a sense of self-worth, then the people will see the influence of that outwardly. Because you won't let people treat you just any kind of way. Your spirit won't allow it. Isn't that wonderful? That God has made a vessel that will forge the environment until it agrees with what is demanded on the inside. That's wonderful. That makes us a special creature. But if we can see our clothes thrown on the floor, walked on, if we can see our dishes that we eat out of on the floor or in the sink, dirty all day long, then that tells us that something has died inside. Because whatever we use daily become an extension of ourselves. My clothes are an extension of me. Well, I'm not complete until I put these clothes on. Not for public. Maybe I'm complete for the bathtub. But I'm not complete for public until I put these clothes on. So these clothes become an extension of my identity. They are part of me. And believe me, when you go into homes, I don't care if the home's African American or European American or what, if you go into homes of people and find them walking all over their clothes, take their clothes off, throw them on the floor, and will walk on their clothes, believe me, those people have already walked on their self-image. They have already walked on their souls. They have walked on their souls so long that their souls have become dead. So the soul doesn't rise up and protest. Say, look, hey, that is identified with me. I wear that suit like I wear your flesh. Isn't that a fact? After all, the flesh is needed for communication, to present ourselves, and is needed for protection, right? The flesh contains the vital organs, hold the blood from exposure. It protects us. Our flesh is a protection, then we wear clothes as an additional protection. And these things become part of our identity. To go forward to improvement in the overall state of our lives is a Muslim's obligation. We call this religion a comprehensive religion. Comprehensive religion. Comprehensive means having broad meaning, broad scope, comprehensive, not limited. So if Muslims are gathering only to turn toward the east and make prayer, then they are not full Muslims. They are incomplete Muslims. The Muslim's religion is comprehensive. So his sensitivities goes out to the whole surroundings. He's not just sensitive to know which direction is Qibla. He's also sensitive to know which direction is work and economic dignity. Yes, this is a religious obligation on the Muslim. Now, this is not to say that Christians don't have such an idea. The early Christians who came to this country, most of those Christians were industrious Christians. They were people who didn't run from work, didn't run from a challenge, They were people who were willing to face harsh environment, very harsh, hostile, unfriendly environment in terms of climate and also in terms of the natives that lived here. They were willing to face those bad odds. But why? Because they wanted to live industrious lives. They wouldn't accept to be treated as inferior in their homeland, persecuted in their homeland. So they were a resistance movement in their homeland. And when America opened up, they decided to come to this new raw land, and with their industry, make it a new destiny. Isn't that the history of those people? Yes. Now, we know that America has become spoiled. So I can't say Christians have this kind of work ethic anymore. Christians are not moved by this such work ethic anymore. Very few Christians understand the Christian work ethic. Muslims, I believe, are more in tune with that requirement in their lives as people supposedly worshiping God. If I worship God, don't you know it reflects on that I worship? If I myself is nothing, if I am nothing and I worship God, nothing should be worshiping nothing. The higher my worship is, the higher my life should be. And if you look at the history of man, you see that man, in the progress that he has made as a worshiper, that man's movement or progress as a worshiper, it kind of, in fact, it does correspond with the progress he has made as a thinking being. We know in olden days, many thousands of years ago, man worshipped everything. Man's worship evolved from the worship of whatever frightened him. Whatever made him think that it had power over him, he worshiped it until he learned that this thing is not the power over me. Then he put it down. And as his worship moved up, his life moved up. The more his worship was raised, the more his life was raised. Now we claim today to be believing in the highest form of worship, the most evolved form of worship of man. The one God over all and who cares for all. That's the highest concept of worship for man. We claim to have that form of worship, but if you look at what's happening in our lives, we are behaving like the savage before he evolved his worship. This morning I was looking at American Bandstand, and I'm glad I can say American Bandstand because normally I watch Soul Train. I was looking at American Bandstand, and my mind said, you say it looks bad like it is. So why don't you just turn off the sound? So I went to the television and turned the sound off. I said, boy, look at ancient Greece in its savage bacchanalia. Drunken confusion. Drunk confusion. Looked like every mental case in Chicago decided to make a contribution to American Bandstand. Yeah, one was doing something like this. Another was doing this. And another one was. Now you put all those combinations together with those expressions, because you know they can look like they far away. You know, they just be carrying on at each other, right up in each other's faces, carrying on, but they look in their face like they're falling. I said to myself, if this is their biggest thrill, then we don't have any hope with those people. To progress is what we want. To do better. To be not at the tail end of progress. Now, some of us can't understand this. You know, soul training is symbolic of the spirit of the African American people. The African American people is not a modern train. The modern train is electric powered, diesel powered. The old train is steam powered. And that's how the soul, that's typical of the soul of the African American masses. Just want to let off steam. And if you look at the whole train, you see the value of the cars in relationship to each other. The engine is the chief. The engine is needed to give life to the whole train. Now, the last car is what they call the caboose. And at the tail end, they normally have watchmen sit in the caboose. But I think Soul Train don't even make no point of showing us the caboose, do they? I know if they do, ain't no watchman in it.